Alright, example number 3, and it says Olivia, but I'm going to change that name because my brand new niece's name is Olivia, but she spells it like this. So I'm going to call it like that. Olivia is in a lighthouse on a cliff. Alright? She observes 2 sailboats due east of the lighthouse. The angles of depression are 33 degrees and 57 degrees. Find the distance between the 2 sailboats to the nearest foot. Okay, so we can actually figure out the distance from these 2 guys. But in order to do that, we're going to figure out this distance AD and subtract it from this whole distance DB. So we're going to actually have 2 trig problems here. And the other thing is, the angle of depression is 33, yes, and this angle is 57. But really, we're concerned more about the angles inside this triangle here. So we need to find those complements. So this angle here would be the complement of 33. So 90 minus 33 is 57, right? Yeah, 57. Look at that. And the complement of 57, which is this angle right here, 33. Okay, so we're going to use those angles instead because we're going to use this triangle for our first trig calculation. And then from that, we're going to subtract from it this triangle for our second trig calculation. Okay, so let's do the big triangle first. Remember, we're trying to find this total distance here from D to B. So I'm going to do the triangle in red. Let's just call it x, right? I mean, that's the easiest thing to call it. And what's the total height here? Well, I have an 85 and I have 110, right? It says the lighthouse is 85 feet and the cliff is 110 feet. So altogether, that is 195 feet. All right, and if I'm using this big angle of 57, that means x would be the opposite and 195 would be the adjacent. So I'd be using the tangent ratio, because I have an opposite and I have an adjacent. So the tangent of 57 degrees is the opposite, x, over 195. So to solve for x, I multiply both sides by 195. I'm going to squeeze it up here by 195. So to write it prettier, I get x equals 195 times the tangent of 57. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug everything into my calculator at the last step because that's going to be the easiest thing. Remember, I'm going to do this whole distance x minus this distance here. I'm going to call it y. So my answer to get this distance between the 2 sailboats is going to be x minus y. Let's just remember that. X minus y. So now I'm going to solve for y. I'm not even plugging this into my calculator yet because that's actually going to be one of my last steps. Okay, to find y, it's the same idea. I'm using the 33 degree angle now, and I have y as the opposite side, and I have the same distance over here of 195. So let's set it up the same. I'll use green this time though. So we could say the tangent of 33 degrees equals the opposite, which is y, over the adjacent, which is still 195. Multiply both sides by 195. Multiply this side by 195. These guys cancel out, and I get this pretty answer, y equals 195 tangent 33. Okay, now I knew from the very beginning I was just going to take my x minus my y. So I can actually plug this whole thing in the calculator, then hit minus, and then plug this whole thing in the calculator. That's why I waited to the very last step. If I plugged this in right away, I would have gotten a decimal. Plugged this in right away, I would have gotten a decimal. And it would have been really close, but I would have had to write down all these decimals. I'd rather just use the calculator once and plug it all in. You could use the calculator twice, write down the decimals, and then do the math again. But like I said, I want to try and make things easier on me. So now go ahead and plug that in to your calculator. Plug and then hit minus and then plug that into your calculator. And we'll see what we get. Let me write it all out for you of how it should look when you plug it in your calculator. It should get that distance AB that we're trying to find. AB is equal to 195 tan 57 minus 195 tangent 33. Okay, and I'll plug in my calculator. I'll put the answer up here in just a second. Okay, when I plugged this all into my calculator, I got 173.639. But remember, they just wanted to the nearest foot, so the nearest foot would just be 174 feet. That is my real answer. 174 feet. That's the distance right there between those two guys. 174. So there we go. Not too bad. Just a couple trick problems and we can do it. All right. Have fun with the homework.